So we'll start with your introduction.
My name is Sreekumar. I did my graduation in M.S. University, Vadodara. Then I did my Masters in Visual Communication from IDC from the 92 batch of M.Des. And I joined here in 2000 as a faculty member. I was working mainly in publication design till then. I am completed 19 years of design education here.
What were the things or people or situations that inspired you to get into design?
It happened maybe, I think, I was in the 5th standard. One teacher of mine was sent by the government to attend a calligraphy training program in Bangalore. So he went, he studied, he learned calligraphy. He had nothing to do with art or design, but he went, he learned, came back and he taught us calligraphy. That was a turning point of my life. Before that, I was fascinated with letter forms. Even before I went to school, I used to look at letter forms. And when I began to draw, I used to look at letter forms and draw. And I remember even in the 2nd standard, I used to ask my parents, the same letter, why is it looking different in different places? Like a newspaper mastered, it looks different. Handwritten, it looks different. In a film poster, the same letter looks different. So I was fascinated by that. But the turning point was learning calligraphy in the 5th standard. I realized that there are tremendous possibilities of this. Then later, after 12th or something, I came to know there are professional courses on graphic design. Then somebody showed me there is a book called Letraset those days during photo composing time. So Letraset opened a really new world. It showed some 30,000 different fonts, samples of those fonts. I started drawing them and I realized that there is something fascinating about this thing called font design, and each font has a name and all that. Then I noticed that some textbooks are fun to read and some are really boring to read. Then I started thinking about what makes typography interesting for the reader. Some are better and some are not. Then almost all my questions were answered during my graduation time in MS University. They had some wonderful teachers. Yeah.
With such huge experience, work experience and teaching experience, how will you define design?
Researchers all over the world for years are grappling with this question, that nobody has come up with an answer which is acceptable to all. I think it is a creative amalgamation of art and technology, and a real good intelligent mix of creativity and problem solving built into it.
What are the 3 things that you think a designer needs to have to succeed in the discipline of design?
One is sensitivity to the world around you, people around you, everything around you. Second is creativity, observation, the ability to solve a problem with the correct amount of creativity, aesthetic brilliance, and most important quality I think a designer should have is common sense.
Famous example or people that you look up to in the field of typography, some Indians or some from outside?
I came to know about this whole thing, and mainly the motivation for applying to IDC was that I heard about R.K. Joshi and Sudarshan Dheer and Yashwant Chaudhary. These were 3 of the greatest designers India has ever produced. So I'm a big admirer of all 3 of them. I saw their work, and so I got very inspired by these 3, R.K. Joshi, Sudarshan Dheer and Yashwant Chaudhary. And I find myself very lucky that all 3 of them taught me. And with Sudarshan Dheer, the best thing is he taught a lot of things about values of life. he found that as a platform. He taught design later. Main focus was how do you grow up as a good human being.
So any incident or any story that you remember of these maestros, or I mean, as many stories as you remember?
So once R.K. sir was giving a lecture and he showed one slide. Those days it was OHP sheets. And in that slide, the visual is a circle drawn with a brush. Then he asked all of us to go near the screen and read the caption of that. So the caption said, this is done by one student of calligraphy doing internship with a Japanese master after 1 year of training. So the first 1 year he is asked to do only this. Draw a circle with a brush. That's it. So this is a level of sensitivity, hard work and focus. Nothing else he has to do. Every day draw hundreds of circles with a brush dipped in ink. That's it. And Sudarshan Dheer, I always remember the HP logo he has done. It is a metaphor of the oil spurting from the ground, from earth. So we used to discuss a lot about this kind of metaphors. And he used to tell us that it is very important to be in a design education that you should teach values of life, human values to students, and then design. And that is something all design schools are forgetting. When a student passes from design school, I don't know how many of us teach values of life.
Philosophy of IDC, what are the things like today and how do you see them in future?
It started off with a specific purpose to meet the requirements of trained industrial designers in the country. So that is why in 1969 IDC started with the primary objective of giving training, good quality education to industrial designers. Then in 1984 we started the visual communication program. After that we have branched out a lot. We have added so many new courses like the mobility and vehicle design, interaction design, animation film design, like that. So now we have 5 different streams. So, and then very important landmark is we started the PhD program. I think it is very important for any institution to bring new knowledge to the world. So one of the primary objectives of having a PhD program, that also in a very wide range of subjects and design, is to create new knowledge. I think that is very important contribution IDC has now. And now on a postgraduate level we give quality education to 5 different streams. We are planning to add a few more like filmmaking in the future. I think it will keep on adding, and then we have a bachelor's program now 4 years, and now we are planning to increase the intake. And I feel that all these 3 are very important for success of a good design. And design research is something which is very important, and India is really lagging behind in that.
Generally what happens once you head a department, there are a lot of things that people see in you and they look up to you, but generally they don't understand a lot of things that happen behind the scene. The ups and downs, the troubles that leaders have to go through, the heads up have to go through, certain decisions. So any such incident stories or any such experiences that you would like to share that leaders have to go through, which generally students and other academics.
Yeah, in a head's life, one thing is it's a very thankless job. And people see what is visible, so it is like a tip of the iceberg. So they see the tip and they think, oh, it is so small, what kind of work? Maybe he has a lot of free time. But the thing is, head of design school is like a 24/7 thing. You need to look at the teaching, how the education, the design education, you have to look at the infrastructure requirements, day-to-day handling of the entire office, our finances. Everybody needs to buy a new computer, new iPad or hard disk, and some sound studio has a problem like this. 100 things crop up every day. You have to be on your toes. It is a 24/7 job. And apart from the previous heads, nobody understands actually once, if you don't go through that, people all think that it is a very small thing. And head's job is, unfortunately, it is like a goalkeeper's job. A goalkeeper is never remembered for the 999 saves he did. He is remembered for that one goal which went in. Even if you look at today, look at the television coverage of any football match. When the goalkeeper's face is shown on the screen, in his statistics it doesn't show in career saves how many saves he did. But if it is other players, they show how many goals he has scored. So quite unfair. And here now we started with 12 students in 1969, and now we have 277 students at any given point of time. And on an average, 10 of them come to the head with a problem every day. And when you look at the problem, you have to look at 3 different rule books. One is for the UG, one is for the PG, and one is for the PhD. So by the time you solve this 10 problems, the day is over. Then you have to look at the finances, you have to look at a lot of other things, and human tendency is to not to follow rules. One very easy thing is to say, oh, I didn't know there is a rule like that. Another person will say, oh, I forgot there is a rule. But the HOD cannot have that luxury. And we are inside a bigger organization called Indian Institute of Technology. It's a government institute. We are answerable to MHRD and all. So head has to follow rules, and biggest challenge is how to convince other people to follow rules. Extremely difficult task to do. And another thing is, how do you handle students' problems? And the mindset of students have changed drastically over there. And now with this kind of tag of IIT leading to a big salary package, there is a lot of peer pressure on students. And unfortunately, a lot of students who apply for a design career are doing because of the pressure from the parents. They are not interested in design. So I feel very sad when I meet students who are forced by others to pursue a career in design where they wanted to be something else. And we need to have a long vision. The head should have the vision for the next 10-15 years of how the institute will go forward, and when we hand over to the next person, we should have those seeds properly laid out.
Share about your discipline in the most casual way that school.
I specialize in communication design. Any visual which you use to communicate something, I will put it under this umbrella of communication design. A signage helps you to find where to go, or where to find a specific place, or you look at a poster of UC exam and then you understand when is the exam, or where do you apply, or which website to go to apply. If that poster is well designed, then the students will understand it. Otherwise, they will go around asking what is written in this. Or a visiting card with the address and phone number clearly mentioned, easy to communicate.
So when we talk about typography and then we see your love for typography, how do you see the scenario of typography, font design in India, and where it is heading now?
It was in a real bad shape earlier because people were not going into that, and we were having very few fonts available. Even now, if you look at the open type format, if you take any Indian language, we have shortage of fonts. Unfortunately, the ecosystem is in such a way it is not an economically viable profession. So we need to do something. So typography day is something we started to encourage people to work, and that has really made an impact. A lot of youngsters are beginning to do, but still you cannot pursue that as a full-time profession. So we need to do something about it to help people to take up font design. Government doesn't do anything, and we have less than 10 font designers in the country. It is really bad.
So, as in general, if I ask, are there any suggestions that you think that institutions, academia, or authorities in government or council should work upon to make a typography and font design scenario better in India?
So like we have a lot of schemes to help researchers in all the different fields of life, but I think like that government should also have some initiatives to support upcoming font designers at least for a year or two, because font design doesn't end with a person finishing the outlines of a font. You need lot of support from engineers. So that is a big worry, you know. So you need to have a team of lot of people working over a period of at least a year to get a font up and running. So I think government should do some schemes to help this kind of activities. Yeah.
So it can be state-wise as well?
As well as central government. Yeah. If a student finishes a font, then there is no way we can support him in terms of font engineering to get it up and running. You need to do the coding, you need to get it compatible with the open type, you need to have the conjuncts ready, all those things are there. So you need another set of professionals to work for it. Who will support them is the issue. Every design institute will have a lot of fonts half-baked. The outlines are done and kept, but there is nobody to take it forward.
So, but in future, how do you see the scenario? Like, is it growing? It's going for better? Or?
I think it will grow for better once we solve this support system. I think slightly more it will be better. Like in IDC, we have initiated a system where after student project is over, we are taking the help of a professional font engineering team. So the first font designed by one Ashish Kumar is already being worked out. In the next 2 or 3 months, it will be ready as an open type font, Devanagari font, which is free to download from the IIT website. But that IIT has to pay for it to get it done. So slowly we are like in the next 10 years time, my vision is to get all the fonts done by IDC students to be translated into open type fonts which can be downloaded for free.
Since the time you were studying and now, a lot of technical digital changes have come. So how do you see the design education coming from that part to this part? Is it for good or bad, those changes? And what changes do you see?
See, I was born and when I studied, this was a transition time between analog to digital. So I could learn both. I have done typesetting with metal type also. I have done with InDesign also, Illustrator also and all that. So I find myself lucky that I could see both. But some of the fundamentals of design, I feel, can be taught by only the traditional media of using a pencil and a paper and three-dimensional things done by hand, and the tactile interaction between a student and the material and the form he is making is very, very important. So when I was a design student, a lot of emphasis was on hand created things. Now, the moment you give an assignment, the first thing a student does is use an iPad or a laptop and then go to Google and search and all. That I think is a dangerous situation. We need to have some kind of guidance. By force it will not happen. We need to convince the students that there are certain things you need to do by hand.
Because this is a question which is very rare, cannot be asked to many. Very few are the leading in design as a HOD or directors of institution. Yeah. So with your experience of leading the most prestigious universities in India, what does it take to lead a design university, design school?
Very important thing is a vision of a design education. So the basic platform here is that we are all here to teach, impart good quality knowledge to students of design. So there is a very big difference between information and knowledge. Information you can get from websites and books and everywhere, but knowledge you need to have a certain training, certain mindset and lot of hard work. And lot of knowledge comes from the experience of working with hands-on, work with industry. And I think we need to look at how to impart knowledge about values of life, human values. Like Sudarshan Dher used to say that you have to be a good human being first, then you think of becoming a designer. So I really wonder how many design institutes even think of having this kind of thought of giving values of life. For example, we have a course called Indian Thoughts and Traditions. Professor Kirti Trivedi used to take that when I was a student. It changed our life, our perspective a lot. Till I attended that course, we were not aware of the rich heritage of design India has. It really gave us a lot of knowledge about what is Indian tradition, what are the Indian thoughts, and it made us all proud to be Indians. So that is something as a nation we are really lagging behind, is how do you look at the tradition, learn from the traditional knowledge of India, and how to be proud to be an Indian. And that automatically leads to a lot of design projects meant to meet the unmet needs of India. So India as a country is very specific in terms of diversity, the languages. We have 22 official languages and hundreds of unofficial languages. We have 13 different scripts. Like that, it's a very diverse place. So we need to learn how to tackle this. There are a lot of design related problems where designers can contribute, and we are not doing it enough. Why should the Indian student, the school student, learn about all the things happening in the Western world, but he doesn't learn about what is in India?
Your favorite quote in design?
Only one I remember is about typography. Frederick Gaudi, while accepting an award, he saw that the certificate had black letters, lowercase spread out. So he said, who did this? Anybody who spreads out black letters will steal sheep. So then it came to be known as anybody who spreads out lowercase, people call it stealing sheep. This is the India Design Project, #India Design Family. Jai Hind.